So what we have here in most presentations that I've looked at, it's not very many questions. You have a few, but not very many. And so that's one of those things that one of my real estate coaches really hammered home. He said, you just tell people. You tell them what you think they need to know, and then you ask them a question. Are you ready to sign on the dotted line? It was a Mike Ferry script. What can I say? And he said, that's not very effective with people these days. He said, well, why not? He said, because people need to be engaged with the content. What kinds of questions do you ask? Well, I did ask who, what, when, where, why, how. In fact, my pre-listing set of questions is all of those basic facts. Are you thinking about listing with another agent? Who would that be? And have you considered listing the home yourself as a for sale by owner? When do you need to be moved? Where are you going? Who else is on the contract who needs to be engaged in this conversation? All those kinds of basic questions that are important to know are the standard questions. Socratic questions are those that are asked to direct you to a certain end. And as you answer those questions, you are driven like a sheep to a certain endpoint. Open-ended questions, that's a whole nother matter. How did you choose this home? That's an open-ended question. You don't know what the answer is. You might think you have some of the ideas, but you don't know. So there are our results. We have some presentations that are fewer than 10% questions, some about 50% questions. Most of the questions we ask tend to be the things that we learned in school, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how. Every now and then we'll put in some open-ended questions. What we're going to do today is take some time and actually consider questions, provocative types of questions, powerful questions. Most of the questions that are asked are like these black question marks. They don't really stand out, but every now and then there will be a question that gets asked and it is provocative and it actually causes something magical to happen. They change the life of the person who is being asked the question. The questions are really, the answers to the questions are really inside of your clients. And this is a philosophical difference between taking a consulting approach and a didactic approach when you're working with clients. If you're the person who's in charge, you're the trainer, they're the trainee, you're the expert and they aren't, then you know the answers and you're just going to tell them what it is. Feels like that sometimes when I go to the doctor. Beth, this is what the thing is. This is it. Boom, 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 boom. Could I add 2 cents? No, you can't. This is what it is. Boom, 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 boom. Well, if you're taking a consultation kind of approach, what you'll find is the answers to what people need are usually inside. People don't believe what you tell them. They rarely believe what you show them. They often believe what their friends will tell them, but they always believe what they tell themselves. And so, do you know what they tell themselves? Or as importantly, and this is for coaches, do they know what they tell themselves? Often not. And so your role as a consultant is to delve deeper to get to where those answers really are. Let's down a little bit. Use questions. Well, how do you use questions? You use questions to plan. If you plan your presentations as questions rather than statements, it's more engaging, right? Because that gets the other person to tell you what they know. And then you write it down so that you have it to use later, because you told me, Stephen, that you're moving to Florida. and you want to be there by the end of January. So you've got a few months to go. But you told me the person who asks the questions directs the conversation. When I learned this, when I was studying neurolinguistic programming, I wasn't sure about that. I really wasn't sure about that at all. I'm going, wait a minute, no, 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 no. Because I was always asking questions and I didn't feel like I was directing any conversation. But the reality is the person who's asking the questions is directing the conversation. That means that if you're mindful of the questions you ask, you can actually direct the conversation in a productive way. What does that mean? It means that you've got to be really curious. I really want to know. I'm asking the questions because I really want to know what it is that fits here for you. And if you don't really want to know, it's going to show because somebody will start talking and you'll be over here. You'll be looking at that thing over there, not paying any attention to the gold that they're giving you. In fact, in neuro-linguistic programming, one of the things that you learn is that people tell you all the time what it is they're thinking and what's important to them. They may not be aware of it, but they're telling you that. One of the things about asking questions is you kind of have to be courageous. When I was little, my mom would say, enough questions, stop. Do you ever feel like that with a little kid? It's like, stop already, no more questions. But it's important to be able to ask, and sometimes you have to be courageous. If there's a question that you think really needs to be asked, but you don't feel real good about asking it because you might be prying, then ask for permission and say, Kathy, may I ask you a question? If I do that and I genuinely want to know, then Kathy has the opportunity to say yes. Or I guess she could say no. It's like, no, don't ask me any more questions. But at that point, it's like, oh, did I offend you somehow? And then you deal with whatever that was. But if you ask for permission, you'll most often be given it. And then you can ask. Or you can say, I've got a question. Could I ask it? And you'll usually get a yes because you really want to know. And when I'm in a listing appointment or a buyer appointment or a coaching appointment, and I feel that my attention's wandering, I have to be curious and present because I really want to know what is it that this person is telling me. Remember high school English and college English? Who, what, when, where, why, how? Those are great. They're good for gathering facts. We need facts. You can't really work with somebody unless you've got that basis down. So you can start there. Absolutely. They're good for gathering the facts. Put them all together. But they're really poor for understanding the motivation. If you're working with a client, you need to understand their motivation for moving if you're a realtor. If you're working with a client, you really need to know their motivation if you're a coach. And it's not like you were born knowing it. So you want to be able to understand that because your goal as a realtor is to evoke transformation for them to be moving. Or it's to evoke as a coach to evoke transformation for the other person to really become more powerful. You got to go past the W5H. W5H is just the start. It's important. It's not where you stop. It's where you start. So what makes a powerful question? A powerful question is like this lightning that you see on the screen. It's powerful. It changes things. If it touches somebody, it creates something powerful inside of them. Sometimes it's so electrifying, they are stunned in silence. Other times they erupt because of the energy that that question has released. A powerful question is simple. It is direct. It is open ended. It's not a yes or no. It's not one of the W5H. It's open ended. You know you used a powerful question because it causes the responder to reflect. Often there's an intake of air, or there's a get all kinds of funny faces when you hit a powerful question. This is what you want. You want somebody to go, not sure how to answer that question. That means you've asked a good, powerful question. What I would recommend if you're a coach or you're a realtor, when you get somebody who asks that, jot down what you just said before you forget it. Build your own set of powerful questions. One of the odd things is that we have a script that we follow, even if we didn't realize we had a script. It's so funny. Take one of those silver-haired agents in your office. Record their presentation. I bet you $1 to donuts that they say the same lines all the time, and they have the same responses to all the objections. Now, that makes it easier. I mean, that's how our brains are wired. However, those powerful questions are open-ended. They take us places that we don't know where we're going because we're on a journey with our client. Like that lightning going across the sky. We're not sure where it's going to end, but we know it's powerful. Powerful questions are simple, direct. They intrude. Somebody's jabbering on about this or that, and you say, "Excuse me." Notice I try to be polite. "Excuse me, I've got a question." As their brain is busily avoiding something really important, you stop them with a change of state, whether it's a clap or an interruption. You got to use your intuition on this. And sometimes it's here and sometimes it's down here in your gut. It's not quite sitting right. There's something important over here. And we're talking over here, but there's something real important over here. What your question does is it invites introspection, and it causes the person to either look inside, to look forward, to look in the shadows, wherever those shadows may be. They're open-ended and thought-provoking, but they direct the person's attention away from wherever they were chattering, either inside, forward, or in the shadows. And you're not sure what's going to be there. It's okay. You're there with them, for them. Powerful questions are not prescriptive. Prescriptive are the kinds of questions my doctor asks when I go in and I'm having trouble breathing again. And the question is, well, have you used your inhaler? No, it makes me vomit. I don't use it. Well, then you need to. Right, thanks. Or, it's allergy time. Are you taking your Claritin? It's prescriptive. That's what doctors are taught. That's their line of questioning, that they're guided to take people down. It's what are the symptoms? They take you down a decision tree and they end up with one of a series of things. Or That's not powerful though. There's the Socratic method, and I mentioned it. I'm not going to go into it more detail. It's driving to a point. There are certain people who are very good. If you're arguing some political point with them, and they'll ask you these questions, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in a corner. You're not quite sure how you got there, but you are definitely in a corner. You're going, you asked me questions that drove me right here. That's apologetics too. That's a whole different thing. I used to love speech and debate, but that's not what we're doing here. We're not taking somebody down to this certain logical point. We're not doing a didactic thing where we're trying to get moralistic on somebody. They're not the routine questions that you always ask. Did you put your clothes away? Have you cleaned the bathroom yet? Is the dishwasher empty? Notice those are all kind of yes or no questions, and they came off my tongue very easily as if I've used them with certain people in my family a lot. They can't be the same old routine, because if it's the same old routine, then the brain just kind of goes along the same old road. You got to break that routine. And yes or no is the same old road. You're not gathering the same old facts. Nope. You're going to work to make a change. That's what makes them powerful. Here's some examples. Take a look at these, and I want you to point for me, guys. So, and Kathy, if you can put your camera on, that would be cool. Do they move you into yourself? Do they move you toward something, away from something, or off into the future? Okay. Where does this take you? If somebody tells you something and you say, what does that mean? Where are you directing their thoughts? Where are you directing their thoughts? When you say, what does that mean? Is it internal? Is it to the future? Is it away from something or towards something? What do you think? If Steve told me that the process didn't look like it was going to work, and I'd say, Steve, what does that mean? What would you have to do there, Steve?
I'd have to paint a clear vision, I suppose.
Yeah. So you'd be looking inside, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chris Voss in Never Split the Difference, one of my favorite negotiating books, basically tells you to ask the last few words they stated. They're going on and on and on and on. And they say something about going to Panama, and you stop and say, go to Panama? Most people don't go to Panama, but you don't say that. You just say, go to Panama? And
Shut
you
up.
wait, right? And you wait, and you got to wait good long 10 seconds. And if you're a teacher, you wait 20 seconds, because then they'll go, well, yeah, I always wanted to go to Panama because that's where the girl from Ipanema was. I don't know, whatever it was, because that will tell you then more about their motivation. So try this on your family. It's really fun to do. See if you cannot get caught. You're at dinner having the same old conversation, and just repeat the last couple of words or the core couple of words that somebody just said, and wait. See what happens. You'll end up delving much deeper into whatever their chatter really is about. Then there's the tell me more. That's one of my favorites. Tell me more. Or what else? Somebody's getting on a roll, right? I need this in a house. What else? What do you want instead? What does it mean to you? And instead of why, because why makes me sound like a 4-year-old and puts somebody really on the defensive quickly. Let's say Kathy's coming along and she said, I need a new machine. And I'll say, what's important about a new machine? And I'll use her words. She said a new machine. So I say a new machine. And then she'll tell me that she needs more horsepower. And I'll say, what's important about more horsepower? And then notice I'm using her words. I have to write them down because otherwise I switch things in my head. I have a little dyslexia, so I got to write it down as I'm going. And she says, I'm embroidering heavy fabric. I'm thinking, embroidering heavy, what's important about embroidering heavy fabric? And then she comes out with what's most important. She's going to create her own vision of her own work or whatever it is, Kathy, right? But what I do is I take her answers and I use her answers and I drill down at least 5 times. What's important about, with her words, it's got to be her words. And then you get to something very simple. I can be independent, or I won't be dependent, or I won't need to be afraid, or our basic drives are not that different person to person. But we did this previously, we did a drill down, and it is so powerful. Now it's your turn. And Steve and Kathy, you guys get to be together. Bob and I will be together because we don't get to go into rooms. Take a picture of this slide, please. Normally we have 3 people, but it's going to be a little smaller today. We're just going to do pairs. Normally we have 3 people so that we have a person who is the questioner, a person who is the answerer, and a person who is the observer and timer. I'll be timer for us, okay? And I'll just let us know. I found when I'm learning how to be better at asking questions, better at listening, it's really much more powerful. I have a much quicker learning time if I have an observer with me so that I can focus on the person who we're doing question and answer, and somebody else can see what's going on because I'm often not aware of even what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. Oh, we've got somebody else who wants to join. Cassandra is just now coming in. Cassandra, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what am I on? I guess I didn't read the whole. Go ahead.
You're on a class on powerful questions.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Were you trying to be on something else?
Well, is this where Kit Fusil wants me to be?
Well, I think you guys had a meeting, but I don't think it was on this Zoom channel. Do you have her phone number to call her directly?
Of course I do. Let me exit out of here. I think I'm on the wrong thing.
I think she really was looking forward to talking with you today.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Cassandra. All right, that was exciting. You got your questions. Bob, I'm going to unmake you co-host so that you can go in and be an observer with these guys. It's so much more powerful. Hang on. Okay, this way you guys can go into the breakout room together.
How do we do that?
Have you ever done a breakout room?
I've never done that.
Okay, you're going to get an invitation in a moment.
Okay.
Although we could just do it here, couldn't we? Let's
Sure.
just do it here. I'll be quiet. Now, you guys get to decide who's the questioner, who's the answerer, who's the observer. Observer's timer. Okay. And once you figured out who's doing what, the questioner asks only open-ended questions, no yes, no's, no who, what, when, where, why, how. And you're just getting to know the other person. Kind of ask about work. That's usually a safe place to go. Okay, or you could pretend that one of you's moving. That also works, since this is sort of a real estate focus. All right, guys, I'm going to be quiet. It's all you.
Okay. Who wants to be the observer? Anybody?
Or Steve can, it doesn't matter.
Sure, I'll do the observer.
Okay.
And-
Can I be the answerer?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, that means I'm the questioner. This
Oh,
is scary.
yes.
Because when you ask a question and you haven't really thought through or had these kind of conversations much, then it's easy to go your default. So I'll have to think a
You
little
want me to
hard.
ask questions? I can ask questions. I'm very nosy.
Oh, are you? Okay, I'll answer then and let you
Okay.
do that. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And your name again? I'm sorry.
Bob.
Bob.
Mhm.
Bob.
Say it
So what do you do?
I do a lot. I am a coach and I also do online classes.
Really? What kind of
online
online? Oh, you create. Okay. What
Mhm.
kind of classes do you create?
Just different ones. I'm working on one now that's a planning class. And then after that, I'm going to do a tutorial class for students and helping them with memory work and those kind of things. My background is education.
What I thought I was good at answering questions or asking questions. So what who do you teach? Do you teach realtors?
Yes. As far as my coaching business, I do primarily with realtors. I do some small businesses, but not near as much as on a regular basis. I will do. I coach realtors.
Coaching sounds really interesting. What
It
is it that you like about it?
I think I like being able to help agents and get them on the right track, because when I started in real estate, I did not get on the right track, and I just kind of followed a veteran realtor around, but it wasn't a really great learning experience for me. So this was something that I felt was important to be able to help, and especially new agents. I have one agent that's part-time, that's kind of a pro, but my other agent and probably the new one, I have a new one coming up. Both brand new realtors got their license within the last 2 months.
I got mine in October, so I'm a very new realtor as well.
That's great.
Yeah, I forgot I'm keeping time. Yeah, we're probably over a minute now.
Oh,
So we're over.
well, I think I used who, what, when, where, why too much.
All right, just rotate. Kathy gets to observe and Steve and Bob, go for it. I think
Okay,
it's
good.
Bob's turn to ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're talking about work. So, Steve,
Yes.
tell me about your work.
Well, I do a few things, but the thing I like to do most is coach. I like to coach, and I'm coaching mostly. I'm in real estate, and those are the people that I resonate with most. So I coach mostly real estate agents.
So tell me what about coaching realtors appeals to you.
Well, well, one, because I am and was one, so I've experienced their pain. Had a lot of pain myself along the way. Made a lot of mistakes, and I just want. I'd rather them learn from the mistakes that I've made than to go out and maybe create their own. A wise man learns from their mistakes. A brilliant man learns from the mistakes of others. So that's what I'm trying to get back.
Um, it, what, well, let me ask you this, as far as those mistakes, tell me about an experience with one of your clients, as far as a
Yes.
mistake that you were able to help them with.
Well, I think I'll tell you, well, for starters, the one of the last clients that I helped, they struggled with being credit worthy. They had,
Oh, we're at a minute.
okay,
Well, we're a little over a minute. I didn't want to interrupt.
no, that's
I
fine.
was practicing my listening skills.
Now, how much time are we setting? Because I guess I'm the timer next.
It was
Minute.
supposed to be a minute.
1 minute? Okay, that's easy.
But y'all are so good.
So it's my turn to ask questions.
You can do it.
Okay.
All right. Hi, and I'm asking Kathy, is that right? I think. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, good. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a brand new realtor and I also work a full-time job. So I'm just trying to really get started selling houses and having clients.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to learn everything.
Yeah. So you're doing real estate and you also have a full-time job as well?
I do sewing for an upholstery company.
Okay. What's that like?
It was good. It's good. It's very slow right now, but I'm
Okay.
ready to make a lifestyle change.
Gotcha. So what's driving you to do that?
I would say I have a 16-year-old son, so I'm looking to just provide a better life. And things get expensive when they turn 16. And I really want to help people find their homes. I
Okay.
really love that.
Gotcha.
Time.
Oh, you were so good. I'm so glad you.
Well done. Well done. This is the kind of training that I did for 2 years in my cohort for coaching. I also did it in my NLP training for another year. And it helps to have an observer who's timer, and then the two people focused on things. What did you observe? Each of you got to observe. What did you observe where there was a powerful question that was asked and it was open-ended? Either you felt it or you heard somebody do it. Where did you find some of those powerful questions in what you just did?
I think that when I was listening to Bob talk or ask questions, that the answers that he got were very detailed and just very explanatory, more so than the who, what, when, where, why would do.
Okay.
I felt like he asked really good questions.
Yep, he did. He did. And what did it feel like when Steve was asking you questions about becoming a realtor? How did that feel?
It was good. He made it easy to talk about, just to keep talking and to give him information. More open, I guess. It made me more open to discussion.
Yeah, it had a different effect on you than some of the other questions. If he'd said, well, how long have you had your license? Where are you hanging your license? How many hours a week do you work? That would keep the conversation here. And yet he was able to get down here. It's to provide a better life for your son and you. In other words, by asking instead of these questions, which can be important, you were able to get to something that might be pretty powerful for you.
Right. Yes.
But it didn't feel intrusive, did it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you have there is the effect of a powerful question. They were simple, they were direct. He didn't need to intrude. Sometimes, though, if somebody starts going off like this, you have to intrude, because otherwise they're just going to take and you're going, wait a minute, hey, whoa, we've got something else to
Right.
do here. And yet the questions that you guys asked were ones that caused you to look inside or to look open, look forward. They were kind of thought-provoking. This is powerful.
Now, Beth, would you, so I was asking questions and I mean, this is like when I do one-on-ones with people, just networking, that kind of thing. So these networking type questions. So I don't necessarily have an agenda in mind. My purpose is just engagement, period. Versus, if I had a checklist that I was supposed to get certain answers to certain questions, what I was doing was really not designed to do that. My only purpose was just to engage, period.
That's all we had for right now.
Okay.
Here's the next level. The next level is for you to take these kinds of questions and put your normal, for instance, your normal discovery session for coaching, or a normal kind of coaching session in one way or another, with the powerful questions, so that you have that. And for Kathy to put a list of questions together that start with just the who, what, when, where, why, how, because if you call Steve George, he will not think you're talking to him, right? So you got to get some of the facts down. But if you have your listing presentation as a list of questions, including powerful, open-ended questions that get to the motivation for moving, then you will have a quick and powerful listing presentation that will get to the heart of the matter with little fanfare and not much angst. Well, usually. Okay. And so, Steve, what I would recommend is that you put together your discovery session with a list of questions. And they're getting to know you questions, but they're also directed at what can we work on that would be most powerful for you right now.
So I would say that, I use pain points quite a bit. I'm trying to discover what their pain points are.
Or their pleasure. The interesting piece about people is that they will either go away from pain or toward pleasure. And you've got both. Actually, most of us will move away from pain. We'll move away from pain rather than towards pleasure.
At a quicker pace, anyway.
Well, yeah, but it's important to know, because if you're doing pain points on somebody who's pleasure, not going to connect. So somehow you need to figure out a question that will help you understand. I call it toward or away. Are they a toward kind of person or an away from kind of person? So if you can figure that out in the first few moments of talking with them, then you can phrase things better and more powerfully so they can really hear you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy, the same way for you as an agent. Somebody might decide that they're moving out of this neighborhood because they can't stand the dog or the neighbor or the traffic, or I don't know what it is, the commute, whatever it is. They're getting away from that. Other people have always wanted to be in this neighborhood. They've always wanted to be in this neighborhood. And so they're going to that. Two different motivations.
And you said try not to use, because I would tend to use why is that important to you, but instead you're saying what about that is important to you. Is a better way to phrase that, correct?
Yes, yes. And use their language. So
Okay.
they say, I am getting out of this neighborhood or I'm going into that neighborhood, and you say, what's important to you about getting out of this neighborhood, or what's important to you about getting into that neighborhood? Their words.
Okay.
And they will direct you so beautifully, it'll be remarkable, smooth as silk. All right. So we did a sample. Powerful questions require deep listening. There are 3 levels of listening. The first level of listening is about me. And if you think about most networking events, you meet somebody and you're trying to figure out how to give them your card or get their card or figure out something, you know, how can I put something witty in here or tell a good story there? It's about me. Most networking events are all about me. That's what the level of listening is. With little kids, that's usually where their level of listening is, right? Level 2, it's about the person I'm speaking with. I really am listening to what their words are, what's between the words. What is it they're not telling me? I mean, I can get pretty in depth there. And in that second level of listening, you can say, so Kathy, what I heard you saying is, boom, and you summarize, right? What I heard you saying, Kathy, is that this will give you a better life. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah. So I was able to summarize, and you know, through negotiating, if you can summarize and somebody says you got it, then you're going to be able to negotiate with them very powerfully, especially if they're hard driving. They're different kinds of negotiators. If you can get them to know that you heard them, then they'll listen to you. They won't listen to you till they know you heard them. So that second level of listening takes a lot of skill, a lot of practice. It's that active listening that people talk about. Instead of I'll do a relationship thing. In a relationship thing, we've got 2 people, and one person's always going off about this, and the other person stops listening. Not that you guys have ever been there, but stops listening. And so this person's going on and on about this, and then something important gets said, and this person is just waiting. Would you just shut up? I'm hungry and I want to eat dinner. And this is not helping my digestion. They're not communicating. But as this person's going, if this person says, you seem especially upset today, what's up? That might be enough of an interrupt for them to say, I got rear-ended on the way home. That's kind of important to know. Thank you for telling me. Okay. You know, it could be a feeling, or it could be the words, or it could be, you didn't mention anything about your test today. How did it go, son? Right? That's where it's the communication's all about what's with you. And I'm listening to the words, I'm listening to the meaning, I'm listening to what's between the words, I'm listening to what you're not telling me. You always talked about football, and now you're not talking about football. What happened? Why aren't you talking about football? Might be something important. That's the second level. That's where most people stop, because that's a lot of work as it is. Mm-hmm. Level 3. We all have learned to do this. Think about when you were in a group of people, say at a football game, and there was a hush over the stands, and then everybody erupted because the field goal was made. You felt the change of everybody in there, right? You can feel it. A communication has an effect on everybody. It has an effect. Kate would talk about the energy. Okay, it has an effect on the energy. It has the effect on the energy for you and the person who's speaking or doing, and globally. That's the third level. Sometimes it's visceral and immediate, like at a football game. Sometimes, think about when you're in school and you'd be walking down the hall and you'd hear in one classroom just the chatter of kids talking. You knew that they were engaged with learning, but it was a noisy engagement. You go down to another room and you hear a free-for-all. They don't sound the same.
Mm-mm.
One, there's learning, the other, there's not. Right? You can learn, you can sense that. So the third level of listening is important. It's not always where you start though, unless you walk in on a scene and then you kind of go, oh, it's frosty in here. And then right? Because you could go 3 to 1, you could go 1 to 3, you could go bounce back and forth. But powerful questions require listening on all the levels. Because what'll happen is, as you're listening and you ask a question, if the person reverts to their level 1 on their response, you didn't strike home very well. If they go to level 2 on their response, better. If they go to level 3, where they really had something profound happen, there was an energy shift, that means you got it right there. Okay? Do you see how they tie in? Is that a yeah, no, maybe so? Kathy? Yeah. Okay. Bob's taking notes. All right. What could change if you used powerful questions in your life? What could change if you employed powerful questions? Think about, where do you consult others and how? I know Kathy consults her son. Parents do. I know Stephen consults with the other agents he's brought into EXP, because that's how the company's set up. He chose that company because he wanted to be part of that, right, Steve? Did I get it?
That's right.
Yeah. And so you consult others. It may or may not be a formal coaching situation, but how do you do that? And when somebody's talking to you, on what level do you usually listen? Are you thinking, I can hardly wait till they finish, I've got to go to the bathroom? I'm sorry, that I'm not going to catch anything that they say that's important. Or, this is the big boss, I got to not look stupid here, I think I'm going to be quiet. Right? Or, I mean, that's about me. It's all about me. Occasionally, you could actually ask a question that takes it to the second level. And that shows that you're a good listener. But if you can take it to that third level, that's profound. And then I put in parentheses, how much do you really want to know? Oh my gosh. Sometimes with clients, I didn't want to know that. No, I really didn't want to know. And so I give you permission to not always having to be a sleuth and finding everything out. You don't need to know every skeleton in the closet. They will show up. Oh, you'll get to see and hear all kinds of things, but you don't need to know everything. How often do your clients feel seen by you? This is the key. When you are listening on levels 2 and 3, when you are asking powerful questions, the person feels seen. Kathy, when you were answering Steve's questions, did you feel like he really got you? He was really
Yeah,
connecting?
yeah, I did.
And Steve, when Bob was asking you questions, did you feel like he was getting to really know you better? He actually saw you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the essence of this kind of communication. People feel seen and heard. The sign of a very good consultant is that your clients know themselves better for having worked with you. So that's my question. That's the standard for you. If you are asking powerful questions where they apply, and you're listening on all three levels, because you always have level 1, 2, guys. How do you get away from it? If you're listening on all three levels, if you powerful questions and listening on all three levels, then your clients will discover things about themselves. You'll discover things and be able to work with them better. They will know themselves better for having worked with you. That, my friends, that self-knowledge facilitated by your skills is what will set you apart from everybody else. Because most coaches don't go there. Most realtors never go there. We can. What do you say? Want to give it a try?